The fading light washes the tree line, and shadows are beginning to bleed down the alleyways. And the secret things tucked within the dark corners of our world are waking up and are stepping out into the gloom. You may not see them, but they are definitely watching you. From mere jumping demons and gigantic roadside arachnids to beach house boogeymen and telepathic fire, join us on this episode of Belief Hole as we endeavor to adjust the frequencies of our reality and tune in to the unexplained happenings that are just on the other side of the belief hole.
Conspiracy,
synchronicity,
Sasquatch,
homunculus,
alien races,
Satanism in Hollywood, MK Ultra, Tartaria.
There's like a whole. I've been watching this one guy.
Close the door,
Jeremy, close your door!
What's the
Inner Earth Disagreements.
Ghost Dad?
I like that movie.
Dogman,
Bohemian Grove.
Corey Feldman.
Magicians are demons.
Specters and
Spirit
spooks.
summonings.
Paralysis. Strange disappearances.
Sky whale phenomenon.
Alternative history.
Shadow people.
Shh, quiet! I'm trying to say words with the mouth.
It's getting dicey out there. Poltergeists.
That's cool.
Anunnaki. What is the moon? Elf towers.
I would never talk about it. That's old.
Y2K. Cover-ups. Apocalyptic catastrophe. Vampire.
Right. Welcome back into the hole.
Season 6.
Well, hello. I'm Chris.
I'm John.
And I'm Jeremy. And we are your guides into the unknown. And it feels good to be back, guys. I don't know about you. Really does. Episode 1 of Season 6. Welcome home.
Yes.
It's been a bit. I hope you guys have enjoyed life in the meantime.
Hope you missed us.
Like we missed you. Anyway, we got an awesome episode for you guys today. We are doing Strange Listener Stories 24. Yes. Yeah, very excited for this. We've been building out the archive, which we've been talking about for a while. We're almost ready to share that. Actually, by the time this episode comes out, you will be able to check out the new listener archive where you can find all these accounts, incredible stories, search for keywords. There'll be categories. So there'll be links in the show notes for that. But while we were doing this, we came across some incredible tales of unexplained encounters. So we thought, what a great way to bring back the whole this season than by dusting off some of these pages. Yeah, some fantastic stories coming up today. We have possessed basement mirrors. Giant mountain spiders. That's going to be pretty awesome. Haunted beach houses. And blacksmith Mind-Melds with sentient fire. Yes. Some crazy, incredible, fascinating accounts today. They verge on the outlandish at times, but there's some fascinating kind of background to some of these that provide some extra believability to these accounts. And of course, some of our listeners that we know and trust have sent some of these in. So it's going to be a fascinating episode, guys. Yeah, I love when we get stories that to me seem so strange that you're getting to explore a new sort of phenomenon when they're covering things we haven't really discussed before. Yeah. Sometimes things we've never even heard of before. Our first story is going to be one of those such stories. All right, this first story comes from Steve. Oh yeah, this is a great one. And this took place in Southport, North Carolina. This is called Fire Talker.
Hey guys, big fan of the podcast. And I think this is important to the story, so I think I need to tell you. I've had the privilege of serving as a firefighter for over 32 years. And I've been a blacksmith for well over that. So I think that gives me a unique perspective with fire. And the main event happened 20 years ago, but this I need to tell the story out of time in order to make this kind of bring it into perspective. So 2 years ago, it was a blue moon, and I was working on Halloween for one of my special projects. And in my coal forge, I was forging, so I put the main project in the fire. So I was working this steel rod, and I came up to temp, and a section of fire then separated and started almost dancing out of the fire and up the side of the rod. And then it went back into the fire and out of the fire, almost like a cartoon character. And then I realized that this event, that the main event that happened 20 years ago had happened. And I was shocked. I was just stunned. So going back to the main event of 20 years ago, I had worked on another holy day, same conditions, and I don't know if it was the summer solstice, the equinox, I could not tell you, and the rod was in the fire, and the flame had separated, coming out and dancing like a CGI flame. And then this time, though, the big difference with this one was that either I went into its consciousness or it went into my consciousness, and it knew my thoughts. I knew its thoughts. And this is the craziest thing, is that it was like a Vulcan mind meld. And that's the only way I can describe it. But that this thing, and it was a thing, its thoughts were very lower functioning. It was not like a human. It did not think like a human. It thought in more of emotions, and so hard for me to describe. And the biggest thing that I got from it was curious as to why I was there. And it wanted to know about me, but in an emotional kind of way. And as soon as I felt those emotional thoughts, I was just terrified. I was so terrified. And I dropped the rod, I dropped my hammer, and I broke the feeling of what had happened. And once I did that, the flame basically went back to being fire, and everything went back to normal. So everything went back to normal, but now I'm seeing it more often. I'm seeing it now 4 or 5 times a year. And the funny thing, though, after that first event is that I knew also afterwards that I wouldn't get burned in a fire. I knew that physically fire could harm me, but that I knew that if I didn't do stupid tricks, I wouldn't get stupid prizes, if that makes any sense. And that I wouldn't be burnt in a fire. And that's my story. So, I don't know. I love you guys' podcast. Have a great night.
Wow, Steve, that's incredible. I just picture him. Yeah, I picture him after this, just walking into like a fire, like a house burning down. He's like, "I'm going to be okay." I don't think that was his point.
Well, yeah, he even said, "Play stupid games, win stupid prizes." Yeah. I mean, I've never heard of fire having a consciousness. There's a lot to unpack in there.
Yeah, it's so funny because a couple years ago, I remember sitting around the fire. I think you were there, Chris, and I remember watching the flames dance, move like they do, and having that exact thought. You hear about the ideas of elementals. Ancient cultures used to personify fire, wind, things like that. And I thought, but what if, you have we refer to fire as like it feeds, right? The fire can die. It has to consume. And when you watch it, it does move in this organic way. You can't really predict how the flames are going to flap and undulate. It makes me think, like, what if when the elements are there, the attributes that you need to start a fire, the conditions are right? Who's to say that there isn't some sort of intelligence that waits for those conditions to be there in order to temporarily manifest in that
in the flame,
and use that as a sort of, even if it is like a low, like hear stories about like life after death or pre-life where, you know, you come across energies or entities, or maybe you may even be in a state where you're not fully thinking like a fully conscious human, but you have an emotional state. Maybe there's some kind of life form that can exist in those elements. I don't know. I think it's a fascinating idea.
What else did he say too about he got scared when it wanted to know more about his emotion or something?
We said, into what you were saying, where it was a lower form of thought, but it was aware. And then when it's like Vulcan mind melded with this flame, and he started connecting to its emotions and feeling what it was feeling and believing that this thing was feeling what he was feeling. Once that emotional transmutation, or once they converged to started feeling the emotions of it, that's what terrified him, was that he was basically empathing with this thing.
Like a telepathic connection.
Right.
Less thought, more emotion, but definitely from the other person's perspective.
He didn't really say anything about what that emotion was, did he?
Well, just the curiosity from the flame. The flame was wondering what he was doing there. Almost as if it came into existence in our reality, or in our dimension in that moment.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. He mentions that, you know, Halloween, right? The first experience happened around Halloween. I believe Halloween night.
That was the latest experience, wasn't it? And then he said he thought back to some 20 years earlier when it was
another
holy day, or
is Halloween a holy day?
Well, you could think like a pagan kind of sacred day, or a solstice, I think is what he
Celts
said.
Or druids.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just interesting. If the veil is thinnest at that time, maybe that's when the best chance you get some sort of elemental consciousness coming through into our dimension.
Possessing some sort of low-level energy, manifestation.
Yeah, really interesting. By the way, I did look this guy up. We'll see if he lets me mention it, but looked up his Instagram. He's a very normal guy with like the family and does Renaissance fairs with his welding stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Firefighter, normal dude.
I feel like he does have a unique perspective on fire, being a fireman and a welder for, you know, your whole life.
Actually, he's a blacksmith, which is an intense kind of craftsmanship, specifically working with fire.
Exactly. If you were going to be a fire spirit trying to make contact with an individual, you think you'd find somebody who knows your kind well.
Or maybe fire's just gotten more comfortable with him over the years.
Maybe.
Because he's worked with it so long. It's just fascinating, that the visual and the idea of it being something that occurred 20 years earlier, and he kind of wrote it off until it happened again.
Yeah.
Climbing up the rod.
Very interesting.
Say hello.
Yeah.
And there was one thing that actually stuck out to me. I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of references. I was trying to find more references when it came to fire being alive. Anthropomorphic fire. Where in history have people believed or had some connection with fire?
As a sentient, conscious entity?
Exactly. One example comes to mind, the Alabama tribe. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Is that the name of the tribe?
Yeah, the Alabama tribe. They had a really fascinating myth, I guess if you would call it a myth. It sounds very allegorical. The idea that fire first belonged to Bear and his people. So bear kind, I suppose. But Bear forgot to feed the fire. And so after time, the fire begins to diminish, and fire starts crying for help. And who comes to feed the fire, to save the fire?
Line cooks.
No.
Sorry, it's a really dumb joke.
That's a terrible joke.
Us, right?
Mankind takes up where Bear left off, feeds the fire, takes care of it. And as a result, fire, quote, bonds with man instead of Bear.
Ooh, okay. So there's the connection there, the kindred spirits, or the joining of the bonding between fire and...
You could say it's allegorical. It's just a story, of course. It's, Bear is anthropomorphized, so is fire. But in this context, fire forms a bond with man. Fire communicates with man, and throughout the story displays a characteristic of consciousness. Now, of course, it's just a story. It could be legend passed down.
Interesting anecdote, though.
But did the ancients believe there was some consciousness to fire? And
yeah, I'd like to dig more into that, because I'm sure there are other cultures where there's at least some ancient folklore or something that ties into that.
Yeah, because how can you really know? How can you really know where consciousness exists? Are you an animalist or an animist, where you believe that consciousness exists in all things, especially things that are animate, like fire?
Or more of the Buddhist mindset, where everything has some level of consciousness.
Exactly. So anyways, it's fascinating, and I love that we had the story to bring up this conversation.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for that story, Steve. That was fantastic.
Great way to start season 6.
A nice, original, unique tale. We love those here in the hole. Well, you guys want to jump into our second?
Yes.
Yeah, let's move into the forest. This is a creepy tale. This is a good lesson on being careful when you're with your friends playing out in the woods, when you discover things you don't expect. This is a story from Dan. It took place in Huntersville, North Carolina in 2003. That's a town that comes up a lot, I feel like, in our strange stories. It's called It Followed Me from the Farmhouse.
This story takes place in 2003 on the north border of Charlotte, North Carolina, and Huntersville, North Carolina, in the area of what has now become North Lake Mall and I-485. Before those things existed, there was a huge tract of land that was several hundred acres that existed behind my parents' neighborhood. And I had made friends with a couple of people that lived down a street to the side of the neighborhood, so I used to cut through someone's yard in my neighborhood and go into their backyard to hang out. You could ride four-wheelers for hours on that land and never see the same stuff. And we got big into paintball at the time, so we had all these spots and forts set up here and there for that. One place in particular, though, was an old abandoned farmhouse. You would ride for about 10 minutes on four-wheelers to get to it, winding up a trail to a small clearing in the woods where the house stood. It was a small L-shaped two-bedroom house with a wooden carport barn nearby and an actual barn and silo to the left side of the clearing. In one room, the floor had caved in and all of the stuff from the house had been thrown into it, so the rest of the house was clear and open. There were stolen street signs and other things that made it seem like people had partied or did whatever over the years there. We would just use it as one team attacks the house and the other team defends it and play paintball. Out of boredom and curiosity, I decided to look at some of the stuff piled up in one of the rooms. It was about an 8-foot by 8 room with a massive heap of stuff several feet high. I always thought it was strange, and when I started digging into it, I found everything in there. Clothes, dishes, books, other belongings, and household items. It was literally a house full of stuff, except the people weren't there. Just all of everything they would own. Anyways, one day we rode back there to play paintball and found a sleeping bag on the couch. We assumed it must have been a homeless person or drifter, but couldn't figure out why they were so far off any beaten path or road. Everything surrounding the house and clearing was super overgrown and extremely thick brush, except for the trail that we used that led back to the regular open woods, so it wouldn't be easy to know about. Being teenagers, we decided to shoot up the sleeping bag, I guess to mark our territory. And also, we didn't want to deal with some strange person potentially lurking nearby that could harm us. So we finished playing paintball, and we are all outside of the house in the clearing, right at dusk, and all of a sudden, everything gets extremely quiet, like dead silent. Then suddenly, hundreds of blackbirds fly in and rest around all of the treetops around this little clearing. They were all silent. No squeaks or chirps, just hundreds of silent blackbirds landing all around us, watching us. I remember saying to my friend, "Man, that's weird," trying to joke off the uneasy feeling we all felt. Then we hear loud, heavy, slow footsteps inside the house. At first, we thought one of us was still inside, but after we all looked around at each other, we realized nobody should be inside the house. Then another few slow, heavy thuds of footsteps from inside. We all freaked out and took off. My one friend and I decided not to wait on the guys with the four-wheelers to start. We just started running and didn't stop until we got back to their house. We were all freaked out and never went back, but dared his younger cousin to go up there on Halloween night alone. I don't think he ever did. Here's where it gets weird. Several months went by, and I woke up in the middle of the night and laid there wide awake, agitated because I had to go to school in a few hours, and I was awake instead of sleeping. The streetlights would light up everything in my room through the closed blinds, so you can see just about everything under a sort of dim yellow hue from the lights, not really any shadow or dark spots. I was lying on my back on a twin bed with the left side pushed up against the wall. 3 feet from the foot of the bed was my door, which was closed, and the rest of the room was to my right. As I lay there, a figure rose from the foot of the bed. I was gripped with fear, frozen in place as this thing rose up and made its way onto my bed. I couldn't call out or move, only watch it. It was white-colored, had a human shape, about 3 feet tall with no facial features. Just the frame and outline of a body. It made its way somehow up my left side between me and the wall, stopping about even with my chest, hunched down, leaning closer to me, and stared at me for a moment and then said, "I know what you did." And then stared at me for about 10 long seconds before retreating backwards the way it came. Then it slowly lowered itself down the foot of my bed, disappearing. I knew for sure I was awake, and once I could move, I got enough courage to jump from my bed, across the room and turn on my lamp. But frantically searching the room, I found nothing. I slept with the lights on for the next few nights. My mom was skeptical and said it must have been a bad dream, but I know for sure I was awake. Eventually, I was able to sleep normally again, until several months later, when my relatives came to visit, and I had to sleep downstairs on the pull-out couch. Again, waking in the middle of the night, I could see everything because of the streetlights. I was laying there and heard the stairs creak. Thinking it was my mom or aunt coming down to get some water, I closed my eyes to fake being asleep so I wouldn't get caught up in some middle-of-the-night conversation. I had my eyes barely open to see who it was. From my vantage point, I could see the top few stairs and landing, and then from the bottom 5 stairs, the rest were behind a wall in front of me. So I hear the stairs creak up top. I'm squinting, and I see a small figure again. This time it was black, and its head was misshapen. Instantly, my eyes opened wide, and I was frozen with fear. This time it didn't move slow. It moved lightning fast from the top of the stairs to the first set of steps in a split second. Stops to look at me, then zips to the foot of the bed in another split second, then disappeared. I thought for sure it would come back, but it didn't. I just laid there scared as hell the rest of the night. A few months later, I left for recruit training at Paris Island and never had any other encounters with it. I would assume it was something from that house that day in the woods. There were 5 of us that heard the footsteps, but I never asked if they too saw a ghost. During the period I was in the military, that area was plowed down and turned into the mall and interstate, and supposedly there were 4 marked graves found in the thick brush next to the house. P.S. The receiving barracks in Japan was haunted. I heard the stories from the Marine bases in Japan on a recent podcast episode, and I remembered them saying nobody stays on the 3rd deck and nobody goes up there alone, even the duty.
Wow. Crazy stuff. That last comment he made about the Marine barracks, that was a callback to our episode.
Oh, yeah.
Haunted Military Bases, episode 5.4, I believe. Yeah, 5.4 listener stories episode.
That was the Basin, Okinawa, right?
Yeah. And that was a story where someone who worked for the receiving would put people in a certain room and then people would have to leave.
Oh, yeah.
Because of the demonic entity.
Yeah, violent attacks.
Yeah. So interesting corroboration there. But yeah, what a story. Very strange.
Yeah, I guess so. It was like a sleeping bag, right? They ended up shooting up the sleeping bag with a paintball gun.
And that's when they first
Heard the
experienced
footsteps.
Right.
Yeah.
Did it say anything about the graves?
Yeah, at the end.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
think it said 4 graves specifically. It was just they found graves after.
Yeah, there were marked.
That was supposedly that had happened.
Yeah, supposedly there were marked
It
graves
doesn't
found.
necessarily even mean it would be that person or whatever.
Right. It was just next to that house that they
Right.
found the sleeping bag
But
in.
it does seem like there's some assumptions you may be able to make, but it's still kind of a mystery as far as what that being was and
Right.
if it was directly
related to the
you know,
paintball.
related.
I think the one thing that would make you consider.
I know what you did.
Yeah, I know what you did.
You shot up my
My sleeping
sleeping
bag.
bag.
Well, yeah, that's the thing too. Like if it was obviously that would be someone who was you would imagine would be like a squatter in the house, not someone who
Right.
lived in the house. Unless it was someone who lived in the house and like maybe inherited it and it didn't have a job and slowly the house went into disrepair and they were living there off what they could and then died.
Like
in
some
the-
hermit or something.
Yeah.
It could also be that whatever this thing was, if it was completely unrelated, but knew that maybe he felt a little concern or guilt about that fed on that and used that as like a tool for like getting in his head.
Yeah.
I know what you did. Just because he feels guilty about it doesn't mean it was his bag.
Whatever happened at the house, it definitely freaked him out.
Yeah.
You know.
Maybe that was a little taste of like,
That was enough to open the door.
I think one of the most interesting things about that story is when all of those blackbirds swarm
It's true.
and they're silent. That's what's interesting. 'Cause you've up here we get them all the time. The big blackbird, where there's thousands of blackbirds that come into a certain area and it just covers fields, but it is loud.
yeah,
It
they're
is noisy
making a lot of noise with their beaks.
with their beaks, yes,
Their beaks and their lungs make
Yapping.
noise.
and their flappers.
so you said that part was silent. I heard the woods got quiet, but are you saying that the birds
Yeah, he said
themselves?
silent
They
blackbirds.
said they
What?
were like, they landed and didn't actually make any
That-
noise
that would
as
be-
far as just the movement of the wings.
I would
think.
be like, is this a dream?
Yeah.
Is there something
Yeah.
in my ears?
Imagine that, like very cinematic. Silent swarm of blackbirds, flock, I guess you call them. They're not bumblebees. Silent flock of blackbirds.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Creepy story though. Definitely in the middle of the night,
Yeah.
having it rise up from under. I don't know how anyone would ever go to sleep.
what you did.
Like there must have been some element of on the verge of sleep or something. I just feel like I would never be able to sleep again after that.
Yeah.
Because we've all had that imagination at night, when it's dark in your room and you just imagine something appearing at the end of
Right.
your bed. He said that he slept with the lights on for the next few days.
Yeah.
It would be like the next 10 years for me.
I mean, it's a common report. Experiencing something terrifying and not usual in your everyday life and having that experience. And then, like, what do? You just try to sleep. You should leave the lights on.
I think you quickly explain that stuff away in your mind after a
Right.
period
That's
of time.
what I kind of
Yeah.
meant. Like maybe there was like
I must
some
have been
sort of a
sleeping.
dream state. I'm not saying he was asleep, but
Yeah.
maybe he
the
was.
hypnagogic.
He said he was. Yeah, who knows? I wasn't there, but
Yeah.
I don't know how you rationalize that to yourself. I guess
Yeah.
is my point. That would be tough.
I've definitely, I mean, I feel like we've all seen things in the hypnagogic state and usually
Yeah.
write it off.
Or like sounds.
Yeah.
I
sounds.
hear sounds all the
voice,
time.
I hear voices.
Where you're asleep or like real, you're in that state and then you hear it and you wake up and you're like,
That was in my imagination.
was that? That sounded like it came from in the room.
Yeah. You hear like the echo of in the room, but you're like,
Yeah.
but that must be my brain filling that in.
And you're not slightly alarmed until after you're fully conscious again. And you're like, what was that?
Well,
Yeah.
a good point I think to make on this too is that there's a lot of experiences people have where at first they hear something or see something and you find out later they most likely did because of what happens later in the week or something. But at that moment they're like, I couldn't have. I must have been hallucinating. I must have been
Yeah.
whatever. But then, a week later they get scratches down their back and the TV gets knocked down. You're
Yeah.
like, maybe I did actually. So I think you can rationalize something when it's so out of the norm for you or unbelievable. You're like, that couldn't have happened. That must have been this.
right.
So maybe I'll sleep with the lights on, but I'm not going to move out right away. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for that, Dan. And let us know if you've gone to that mall and had any experiences.
Yes.
Let us know if you had any Sbarro.
Sbarro pizza
Every time I go there, I think about getting it, and then I just can't do it.
in the mall.
Sbarro,
This episode of Believable brought to you by Mall Pizza.
your number one mall pizza.
All right.
Let's move on to the next story, shall we?
All right, yes, let's do that. Now we've been in a welding kill. We've been in the forest. Let's go to the beach.
Finally.
This is a great tale I've been sitting on for a bit. This comes just from Cameron.
Oh, Cameron.
Yes,
Great friend of the show.
This comes from Southport, North Carolina, May 2023. My family owns an old beach house that my grandparents bought in the 70s. This is in North Carolina, close to Southport. The area is mostly retired folks that have settled in the quiet seaside town, but there are many vacant homes too, due to them being rentals. Our family's beach house has 3 bedrooms, 2 on one end and the master bedroom on the other. On the 1st of May, my family decided to go down for one night to kick off the summer. When we arrived, nothing seemed out of sorts. We unlocked the front door, and the stale air hit us. I'm very intuitive, unfortunately, and must admit, I felt something off about the house upon entering the home. This is nothing new to me, as it has very few visitors throughout the year, so I assumed I was picking up on the lack of energy in the space. All seemed well inside, and I went into cleaning mode, freshening up the bathrooms, changing the sheets on the beds, cleaning the kitchen, etc. All the while, my 3-year-old son stood motionless in the living room. I stopped to ask him if he were all right when he said,
"Mommy, there's a man in here."
My heart dropped to my stomach, but I sat down on the couch and grabbed his hands. I said, "Baby, there's no one in here. I've checked. It's okay. Don't be scared." But he was scared. And again, he looked at me and said,
"No, you didn't check the bathroom."
I stood up, feeling a little queasy at the thought, and looked down the hallway towards the 2 bathrooms. Oddly, both bedroom doors were shut and locked. My son was right. I hadn't checked. In my impatience to clean and freshen the place up, I had completely neglected the back area of the house. I told my son and daughter to wait in the living room, and I started down the hallway. The doors were locked from the inside, so I had to use my body weight to open them. This wasn't hard, as the doors are so old, but this was strange. I've never known those doors to be locked in that way. It was very surprising, because the only way to lock those doors is from the inside, but there isn't a way out. There is no physical way possible to lock those doors and keep them that way when no one is in there. The doorknobs are the old kind that you have to physically rotate and push to lock them. They're intricate. When I entered the room my son spoke of, there was no one there. I searched the room over, and then the other room when I finished with the first. No one there. No sign of disturbance. Nothing out of place. I called my son into the room, but he wouldn't enter. He simply stood, looking into the room in the doorframe. I said, "See, baby? No one is here. There is no man." He simply nodded, slowly, and walked away. This made me feel uneasy, as my son is the happiest, most energetic little boy I know. We decided to take them to the ocean and let them play in the tide pools and sand for the remainder of the evening. The entire time we were away, my son never mentioned the man once. He acted like himself while we were away from the beach house, but the moment we pulled back into the yard, his little voice spoke up.
"Mommy, the man is on the front porch, in the swing."
It was dark, 11 p.m., and we were all tired from our ocean adventures. I looked to the porch to see the swing slightly moving in the ocean breeze, but saw no man. My son did not want to go onto the porch, so much so he made me carry him inside and refused to look at the empty swing. This is unusual behavior, as he wants to be seen as a, quote, big boy, but I didn't mind carrying him one bit. The rest of the night was uneventful, and we gathered our items and left the following morning. My brother and his partner were set to come that day and enjoy the vacation home themselves. Neither my brother nor his partner believes in the paranormal. They have both stated on many occasions that there is, quote, nothing abnormal in this life, or, quote, after it. It's funny that as my brother has had many experiences he cannot explain, he just brushes them away. I don't discuss anything paranormal with him because of this. The following day, my mom called me and told me she simply had to talk to me about what happened to my brother and his partner. Apparently, the first night they stayed at the beach house, which was the day we left, they unloaded their suitcases, got ready for bed, and settled down into the back bedroom. My brother was fast asleep, unaware that anything was amiss. My brother's partner woke suddenly during the night and saw a man leaning over their bed, looking down at them, sleeping. He said the man was silhouetted in the moonlight, but was inches away from his face, meaning he was a blacked-out figure without distinguishable facial features. My brother's partner was frozen in fear and quietly whispered to my brother to wake up. Wake up! Wake up! My brother remained asleep during the encounter, and his partner watched the man until he vanished mere inches away from his face. Disturbed, he woke my brother up, and the two men searched the home to find no intruder. Chills went through me as she relayed the story, and she had no indication of what my son had experienced while we were there a mere 48 hours earlier. A man in the beach house. I told my child repeatedly we were alone and safe, but he knew. He tried to tell me multiple times. I swallowed hard before asking my mom the question, "What room did this happen in?" She paused, then answered, "The back bedroom." I froze. It was the same room my son had said the man was in. Yuck. We slept there with that thing. My mom was petrified when I told her the entirety of the story. The realization that my son can see and feel things the way I can was not a good feeling. I was hoping my children would not share in this trait with me. My son knew there was someone in the house and tried to tell me multiple times. It won't be easy to go back to the house for fun family vacations, as I know we will not be alone. I have imagined the house sitting vacant since we left. It's somewhere I have been visiting since birth, and I know it well. Stale air, dusty furniture, darkness spreading down the hallway. Yet, I know now that it's not empty. Whoever or whatever it is has been there a long time, and I can't help but wonder, how many times has it watched me sleep? Thanks for all you guys do. It is much appreciated. Cameron.
Wow.
Listen to your kids, parents.
Yeah. Great story.
I mean, out of all the types of paranormal encounters I think that can happen, I just think when you're asleep, it's just the worst.
Oh, yeah. You're vulnerable in your bedroom?
I've actually been having a hard time sleeping lately. It's weird. I've always slept really well in my house. And I guess there's been periods kind of where it's always around that time, like 3 o'clock in the morning. And I don't know, like the last week. And it has happened, stuff has happened around this time in the past. Remember that whistling thing?
Yeah, the whistler.
That was like early February.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's this time of year where it's like,
everything's dead and cold.
It's the bleakest, darkest time of year normally. Oh, it's not too bad this year. But just in general, that's kind of how February feels.
Yeah.
Furthest away from summer. And I've just been waking up.
Did this start around Halloween? Because I know you said you were having trouble sleeping around Halloween.
No, I mean, I always do around Halloween. But this has been like the last week and a half. It started with the sounds I heard. Remember I told you those?
Were there footsteps on your roof or something?
Well, that was a while ago.
Yeah.
That was like a running on my roof.
Yeah, that was around Halloween.
Yeah.
The footsteps.
What was this? Remind me, because this happened over the break?
Yeah, this happened maybe 2 weeks ago. I started hearing weird sounds at night. This was when it was really cold. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
And I heard the sound of almost the sound of a dog toes hitting.
That's right.
That's a very specific
Like claws
sound.
on the
like claws
on the wood floor.
On the wood
This
floor.
was in your bedroom?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Right around that time. And that creeped me out because I could not figure out. And there was something else. It was like I heard like a tapping sound on my wall too, like right after that.
That's creepy.
Yeah, it was very creepy.
Just a one dogman claw tap.
Tapping is usually the beginning of a demonic infestation. You know that, right?
Well, it wasn't like a tapping.
It's true.
This is more like a click. Yeah, it is true. Usually, knocking.
And scratching.
Oh, no, it wasn't like that. It was just more of it just sounded like something hit the wall.
Yeah.
Just once. It wasn't like a tapping, but
in wintertime, it could be things
I
constricting.
The fact that it was so cold, I realized later that something could have been constricting. I still think that could have been it. But yeah, I don't know. I just feel like off and on, the last 2 weeks, it's just been, I keep waking up right around that time, and all I can describe it as is just this sense of like uneasiness, you know, not like outright evil, but just uneasy.
A little unsettled.
Very unsettling.
Yeah.
Did you happen to get up and look around when you heard that tap on the wall?
Yeah.
Because it just reminds me, I'll just say this briefly, but it reminds me of a time when I was young and living, you know, where Dad's office is now.
Mm-hmm.
So I remember being...
was that your old room?
It was my old room.
Well, we shared it first before high school.
Oh, Dad's office. That's right. Okay, yeah.
Anyways, we were watching a documentary, I forget what it was. And do you remember this, Jer? I remember we were in there and we heard a tap on the window down one of the far corridors of the bedroom, in the alcove. And I got up and looked around and found a piece of my basketball trophy. The basketball part had been broken off from the other side of the room and had hit the window.
I remember
and
that.
fallen down. Just out of nowhere.
I've never heard that story.
Yeah. I think I've told it on the show before.
No.
But yeah, you know, you'd have to listen.
True.
You have to listen when I talk, John.
Fans of the whole will remember
I mean,
that
I'm just
story.
saying, I can't believe I've never heard that in all of the paranormal
Well, I
stories that
think
we've
you
had.
have. You just didn't hear it.
Meanwhile, John's breaking off pieces of our trophies and throwing them from the closet.
Anyways, the whole point of that was just like, I just feel so vulnerable at night,
Yeah.
you know, because not only are you like passed out most of the
You're
time.
in another world, really.
Yeah, and coming back to this world, and it's just it's a very unnerving feeling.
Yeah.
to-
Some
to-
would argue you're out of your body sometimes.
Yeah.
That's why the best YouTube videos to watch are the ones where people wake their friends up or partners up and while wearing a mask, like right on their face. Like how, because exactly right. You're coming into this world, you're like, wait, where am I? And then there's this demon staring at me.
That's cruel.
Yeah,
That's traumatic.
It's almost violent. Well, some people get like hit,
Yeah.
you know, or attacked or. Ugh.
I would not probably hang out with that person anymore.
No, I would. That's the prank I would never do.
Yeah.
Just because it's like you could give the person a real scare.
Anyways, was there any other comments we wanted to make on that
Oh
one?
yeah. To comment on her story a little bit.
Not just tell our own.
Right. I love when there's corroboration like that. Like her son seeing stuff, and the fact she gets in there and then she realizes oh, you're right. I haven't looked back there, and the doors are locked from the inside, and it's those kind of doors that you have to pull in and turn. So you can't lock it once you're out of the room. You got to do it while you're in there, and then you can't get out. So the fact that those rooms were locked and she'd never experienced that before, the same day her son said that there's a man in the bathroom, and then later when they get back, obviously a man on the swing, and the corroboration that they leave, and then her brother and his partner, who don't believe in the paranormal, have an experience of a man looking at them while they're sleeping. I mean, it's kind of hard to explain that away.
Well, I think
what are the chances?
It was the bedroom, I think, not the bathroom that the son saw it in.
Oh, you're right. So the bedroom,
yeah. But the bedroom is where for each person it took place, and
just creepy.
And I love the way she ended it. I wonder how many times
it's watched me sleep.
Exactly.
Yeah,
unsettling.
So what is this? What caused this? Because her grandparents owned this place since the 70s and never had an experience. Her thought was maybe it was her that they had remodeled in 2010.
Ooh, stirred up the spirits.
Yeah, maybe it stirred the spirits up. But I think that I'll have to ask her again, but I think that they actually built the house too in the 70s.
Oh, really?
But then remodeled. So I don't know. The other thought I had was sometimes where it seems like there's a haunting out of nowhere. Is it possible that spirits, entities, whatever, a more Eastern idea, but that they travel across the land and sometimes stop in at a location and stay for a while, that they're not necessarily bound to a certain area in every case.
It's just a rest stop on the spook highway, the haunted highway.
And the last thing I was going to say is just that it's next to the ocean, water, the connection with water and
how
spirits.
many pirate ghosts are wandering up on the shore?
Yeah.
Wandering in for a nice cup of tea
right
in your beach house.
It's definitely a great environment.
Yeah.
Mysterious, romantic environment for a haunting.
Yeah, thank you so much for that story, Cameron.
If you guys have any beach house hauntings, let us know. I wonder if there's a pattern in here. I could see beach houses being a appropriate haunting atmosphere.
Absolutely. By the way, quick announcement, guys. For those of you listening right now on Google Podcasts, don't clutch too tightly to that app because Google has announced that they are getting rid of Google Podcasts. So if you're listening on Google Podcasts now, I'll leave a link in the show notes that you can click on to subscribe to us elsewhere because we don't want to lose you. And if you want to keep getting notifications of our shows when they drop and you're using Google Podcasts now, it's best to switch to a new platform. So I'll have a link in the show notes of the best way to do that. You can import your current subscriptions from Google Podcasts to another podcast player before they completely disappear, which I think is in either February or early March.
Man, how annoyed you must be if you left Stitcher and you're like, I guess I'll do Google Podcasts because Stitcher closed down.
Right.
And you're Google Podcasts and that closes down.
Yeah.
I wonder why they're closing down.
They're going to focus on YouTube Music.
Yeah. So basically they're going to
try to fold it into YouTube Music, but I don't think you'll automatically get a YouTube Music account with your subscriptions.
They're folding the podcasts into YouTube Music?
Basically, yeah, they're shifting from Google Podcasts to YouTube Music. So YouTube Music will also have podcasts.
Oh.
So you go there for your podcasts.
I wonder why. It doesn't they're like really separate things, you know?
Yeah.
And podcasts are their own growing ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
It just seems like it would be confusing for people.
Maybe they're trying to put it under one umbrella to manage it
like
easier.
less maintenance.
I mean, look at
Maybe.
Spotify's used to be only music platform, and then they rolled in podcasts
The
there.
beauty about Google Podcasts is it is a very clean, it's almost like the Craigslist of podcasts. Like if you go use it on the web, it's just a very clean layout of just simple text of here's the episodes, no frills and thrills, just like,
That's why they're not making enough money with ads, so they're rolling it up.
Do we have an expansion coming up?
oh boy, do we.
Yeah, the expansion is something I've been wanting to dig into, pun intended, for a while. This is Spectrophilia, Love Among the Tombstones. We've talked about this before on the show.
What?
But basically, some people develop an attraction to spirits, the dead.
So much so they think that they have a relationship.
Yeah. And this expansion episode is
I should say, sorry, intimate relationship.
Yes. So this expansion episode is a little adult. So for those of you who listen with kids, well, there should always be a warning on that because you never know in the hole. But this one especially, you might want to preview it before it doesn't get too graphic, but there's definitely some
adult themes when it comes to Love Among the Tombstones.
Yes, but it is a lot of fun. Gets pretty crazy, and that's just the first half. The second half is something Jeremy's wanted to touch on for a long time. Pretty crazy story in our recent history.
Yeah, this is a topic. The second half will be about pizza paranoia and Noid nostalgia, I guess you could call it. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the concept or the advertising campaign of the Domino's Noid.
Mm-hmm.
It was that annoying little fella that would keep you from getting your pizza hot on time. He threw everything in his way that he could.
Back when Domino's promised 30 minutes or less.
30 minutes or less. And so there had to be a reason why you weren't getting your pizza in 30 minutes or less. And that was because of this annoying fella, the Noid. But the existence of the Noid led to some actual real-world manifestations of
some true crime tragedy, really.
Some true crime tragedy, sad to say, and some real paranoia.
That's fascinating.
And you connect the Noid with, as the fella from the Fortean Times, which we'll be referencing in the episode, the great Fortean magazine, he links it to a fascinating connection with the shamans of the Laplands, the Sami shamans.
Ah, our ancestry.
Yeah, a little magic, a little trickster connection.
Little pepperoni.
With this just strange cultural manifestation of the Noid and the havoc that it wrought.
Yeah, so this is going to be an expansion you don't want to miss.
Yeah, really unique, really interesting, I think. So tune in, guys.
If you're not a member yet, sign up. You get double the content and
fully produced episodes whenever we drop a main episode.
Right on.
There's so much extra stuff there. So if you're not through the back catalog, totally understand.
Yeah.
But keep it in mind because there's a whole nother world that you have not explored yet.
And if you want to stop listening to ads, sign up now.
Oh, that's true. That's another really important part, that if you don't want to hear the ads, that's the way to go.
Yeah.
It supports us to keep the show growing and being here for you guys. And also, ad-free content. And the first season. So you want to hear a little bit more of our rough early stages, which is fun in its own way.
Yeah.
We were definitely a little more unpolished, but also the episodes are kind of fun.
Maybe
too.
have a drink and listen to those.
Yeah.
You're right. Season 1 has some of my favorite episodes. We did the Loch Ness Aleister Crowley deep dive episode.
That was great.
We had Real Men in Black, which, these were all heavily researched, especially towards the second end of the first season. Our views on Dyatlov Pass that we did 5 years ago. Yeah, some really great episodes, classic
some
episodes.
People really like those episodes just because we're very raw.
That's true, yeah.
We don't hold back at all.
No.
We've definitely, over the years, you refine and try to be a little bit more
consistent.
You're consistent and measured for everyone instead of just being like, we're here.
Mm-hmm.
It's just more like hanging out with your friends sort of situation. Drinking.
Right, yes. There's a lot of drinking.
Yeah, check that out. But again, ad-free episodes, fully produced episodes. So go check it out. Go to belieful.com and click on the big red Join the Expansion button.
Now here's a clip, and we'll be back on the other side.
Access granted.
Another phantom fling that came to an unfortunate end was between Paulo Flores from Colombia and a ghost with which she claims she had sex every night for 20 years with. Wow. Always initiated by the lustful spirit. Jeez, definitely sounds like an incubus to me. Quote,
"One day, I was lying down when I felt a hand move from my feet to my chest. It was strange. I was scared,"
she says.
"From that moment on, he started coming to me like a spirit to have sex with me."
having, quote, fallen in love with the entity's, quote, supernatural soul, Flores and her spirit became long-term lovers. However, it did not end well. Quote,
He was a very big man, but the day I caught a glimpse of him, he had fangs and a face of a gargoyle.
so right there, right?
Yeah.
So the true face. So this whole time she's having sex with this thing every night for 20 years, never sees its face.
That's so weird.
And then finally does, and it's a demon.
Yeah. I mean, if she's actually experiencing this, it's imagine that going on for so long. You probably have a picture in your mind of what this guy looks like.
Yeah.
And then you see its actual visage.
She goes on to say, quote,
The last time I saw his face was when I didn't want to continue.
Colombian parapsychologist Yaro Urbex finds her account credible, saying that she was probably in a relationship with an incubus. Explaining, quote, an incubus is a demonic entity. It is a lower astral entity, and we describe all those that look like maggots as lower vibrational. They specialize in grabbing people and taking their energy.
Welcome back, everybody, my beautiful babies.
My babies.
My beautiful babies.
That's a weird statement.
Why?
I don't think everyone's your baby.
They are my babies.
I just picture you as a giant spider and you're laying eggs.
My beautiful babies.
My beautiful pupae.
That's going to come in later, actually. Stick around for that story. Not John laying baby eggs, but
Giant spider.
giant spiders, yes. Shelob style.
Gross.
Anyways, babies.
Anyways, we are back.
It's babies.
Hope you enjoyed that clip of the expansion. Don't forget to sign up. Welcome back into the hole. We're going to go even deeper than before. We're going deep into the basement for our next tale.
This one definitely creeped me out.
Yeah, John, tell the listeners here what you were telling me before we recorded.
Now I'm a little embarrassed. Like I said, I've been having, some issues with sleep lately, being creeped out with all those noises. And then I read this story, and there's a mirror in my bathroom that in the middle of the night, if I have to pee or something, usually it's just to pee. But
TMI.
And the story is called The Basement Mirror. So people know that, yeah.
Yes.
There's a
that's true.
mirror involved.
And once you hear the story, you'll understand. But there's a mirror in my bathroom that I always just avoid looking at in the middle of the night. It just creeps me out.
Especially in the bathroom.
Yeah.
I feel like that's where Bloody Mary lives.
I just don't like it. And so I've been working on this story, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to put a towel up over my mirror from now on. I don't use the bathroom for anything because it's just upstairs and next to the studio, but I don't really use it other than just in the middle of the night.
Nighttime.
So now it just has a towel over it. So I can't remember, is it Jamie?
Oh, the story?
Yeah, who's this from?
I don't know. Did they say?
Oh, it's not in the...
I thought it was in there. Thanks again.
Oh, yeah. It's Jamie. Thanks, Jamie.
Well, regardless, it scared the crap out of me because it was just at a time where I was already kind of creeped out.
Yeah.
With sleeping and just, I don't know. Mirrors always creep me out. I don't like looking at mirrors in general. Even like during the day, there's just something weird about seeing your reflection.
And you're a beautiful man, so it
I
wouldn't
don't like cameras.
It's not that you're hideous.
No, I just don't like looking into mirrors. I don't like looking at pictures
There's
of
something
myself either, though.
strange about mirrors.
I think I'm part Native American.
Why?
I just feel like it steals my soul.
That's cameras.
I said cameras after.
Oh, you did say cameras.
I think that was an older belief. There's a lot of Native Americans that are pictured now.
That's true.
I don't like being taken pictures of, especially like without my permission.
Yeah.
Just randomly. I mean, I don't care.
Like the paparazzi when they come up to you.
No, but I have had people take pictures of me. Well, never mind. We're going to cut that.
I was going to say, I just love that you put a towel over your mirror. That's like the perfect horror movie setup where you break into an abandoned house and all the mirrors have blankets over them. You're like, why are they covering the mirrors?
It's going to creep me out even more as if it's off at some point.
Something came out and knocked it off the mirror.
I won't like that one bit.
No.
I've been in houses before doing real estate photography where there'll be like all the mirrors have been removed.
Yeah.
And I always
That's
wonder,
weird
are
too.
they remodeling or is there a demon loose? Did they move abruptly?
That's weird, dude. That's when we went to that Michigan for that show / meetup where some people showed up, some good belieflings of the show. Shout out. We stayed at that Airbnb, and this Airbnb was so creepy, John. It was right on the lake, and it wasn't kept up well at all. It was like the worst Airbnb I've ever been in. Just kind of trashy.
which was fine. You know, it was a good deal.
Pictures fooled me.
But one of the creepiest things about it, besides it being kind of weird, and there was an area in the basement where they had blocked it off with like a false wall. You could see over the wall a little bit that there was more of a hallway and other rooms. You saw door frames and there was a light on.
You couldn't see it, but I took my phone.
That's what it was.
I held my hand over the edge with my phone and took a picture and then looked at it. And I was like, oh, behind this door, it's not just a utility closet. It's a hallway that goes into other rooms that are blocked off.
Multiple rooms.
Yeah, weird.
But the creepiest thing about that place was that there were no mirrors. It just left this, like even the bathroom, just left this unsettling feeling of like,
yeah, that is weird.
What came through.
So I guess the lesson there is mirrors or a lack of mirrors are both unsettling, depending on the situation.
And a great example, that might be the story that we haven't played yet. We just keep talking about.
I mean, this was Airbnb. I don't know, maybe if it was trashy, maybe they had riffraff in there a lot that would break the mirrors.
That's true. It was it was behind a liquor store, and I think it was like a party area. I think that's why.
I'm sure that's what it was.
Yeah.
And the demon.
It was like a prison. The demons.
That was probably one of the darkest Airbnb I've ever stayed in, just feeling wise.
Isn't energy so weird?
Yeah. Because I've stayed in like the Pink House, haunted Airbnb, but had weird dreams, but never like a negative vibe. This place felt dark.
Right. Did you have weird dreams there?
Probably. I don't remember now.
When you're really creeped out, it's hard to tell the difference between maybe something's influencing it or it's just
the scenario, the environment,
the creepy vibe. Because you can watch a horror movie and get creeped out and then have some weird dreams.
Right. Yeah.
But sometimes it feels like more. Sometimes it feels like
the door is open.
Things are influencing you.
They're watching you from the other side of the mirror, John. Be warned.
Sucking on that spook juice.
Sucking on that spook juice.
I don't like that house anymore.
Maybe time to move along to a house that was
maybe made this century.
Yeah, that could help.
All right. This story comes to us from Jamie in Westminster, Colorado. This happened in December 29th, 2015.
And it's called The Basement Mirror.
You've been warned.
Get your towel ready.
Hey guys, I'm new to your channel and I love the listener stories. I was a few episodes in thinking that mine is too weird to tell you when you started to queue up your next one. You said it's so bizarre and you guys get stories on this topic all the time. I think my blood stopped running when you said disembodied hands. Instant chills, and I knew I was right where I was meant to be. So here goes. I was living with 5 roommates at the time, and it was near New Year's, so several more friends were staying at our house. The living room, outside my room, was filled. We were all going to a music festival, Decadence. Earlier that year, at another Denver festival, I met a guy and we hit it off right away. He lives in Florida, but we stayed in touch over the phone. He told me he was Christian, and he had previously worked his way up in the church with his intuitive gifts. Over the holidays, he would visit his family home in Virginia. He and other members of his family had experienced weird things in the basement there. He attributed it to losing his younger brother when he was only 4 years old. He said there was something down there and it wanted his attention. He would play games with it in the mirror. He said it would show him how he would age and would show the age progression for his dad, uncle, and his cousin. This creeped me the f*** out, and I thought it seemed like something that was pretending to be his brother to slip in with his family. I told him he should stop playing with it. That December, while out with friends, he sent me a video of him waving in the mirror. A chill went down my spine. I knew what he was doing. Later that night, when I got home, I called to scold him. I was sitting in bed looking in the mirror, and for some crazy reason, I did the wave the way he did, rolling my fingers one at a time. I put my hand down, and when I did, a shadow hand waved back at me. I jumped out of my skin and bed and threw the door open to the hallway. Turned on all the lights, screaming at him. "Why did you send me that thing?" He said, "I wanted to show you." I covered every mirror and started burning sage. I don't know, anything to help. At this time in my life, I had a crystal grid on my bedside table and the Tibetan smoky quartz had turned and pointed straight at me. My mini Dashin, Sasha, was right there the whole time undisturbed, but the next day, Renee, my next door roommate, said her cat was acting funny about something in the corner in her bedroom. On New Year's, the after party was at our house, and a friend Michael said he saw something funny in the bathroom mirror. I would get scared of mirrors randomly after, feeling like whatever it was could be anywhere. I've started thinking of it as a lesson about fear. Like the world, it's coming from me, not at me. Starve those ghouls. Love you guys and your podcast. Follow-up. I asked my friend what it was, and if he thought it was his little brother, who had died. He didn't think it was, but wouldn't tell me what he thought it was. Also, the smoky quartz that turned and pointed at me just now broke in two while I was switching king-size mattresses by myself. I was just listening to your episode on hagstones. I think it was protecting me, somehow. Thanks again, Jamie.
Ew. That's so creepy.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No, thank you.
One finger at a time.
Yeah, that's a creepy thought.
The crawling wave.
Who waves like that?
Monsters and serial killers. Hello.
Demons.
And
shadow mirror
Tony
demons.
from The Shining.
Oh, yes.
Frightening.
Yeah, thank you so much for that story.
Thank you for creeping me out.
Yeah, super disturbing, man.
The fact that he was like a Christian is weird to me, that he would be like playing with a weird figure in his mirror. I'm pretty sure Christianity doesn't like that kind of
Yeah,
sort
I mean,
of
there's
thing.
a lot of different denominations, obviously. But I mean, that's a very, I don't think there's any that, even if you believe in like faith healing and speaking in tongues, there's a lot of kind of more fringy ideas within certain aspects of Christianity or certain denominations. But I think playing with mirror shadow spirits would not fall into any.
Well, I
don't
mean,
know.
we all grew up Christian. I mean, just because you have a certain religion doesn't mean that you always act in that
Right.
way. You're also a kid growing up in America. You might.
There's difference between like maybe smoking marijuana or something and playing with a shadow person. I just think that regardless if I was a Christian, I just wouldn't do that. I just would not be playing with shadow
Starve your
people
frickin' ghouls.
in the
Yeah.
mirror
Roll the dice.
She was right. Starve your ghouls, man.
and showing your age progression.
That's so bizarre. It's a very specific thing, too.
Yeah.
The follow up on that was that
Yeah, it's just creepy, dude.
he said, quote, I prayed a long time, because she had asked him, because she was going to submit the story. She reached out to him. They hadn't
Yeah.
talked in a long time. She asked him, like, did you think, was it your brother? You think it was your brother that had died? This and that. And what he thought was, he said, quote, I prayed a long time about seeing what looked like my brother's ghost with my stepbrother. I learned it was, quote, my spirit of fear manifesting. So I don't know if he thought that this shadow figure was his own fear and somehow he was projecting an illusion of what he thought, how he might age. I don't know. But it's just odd that she then saw this
Well,
thing.
sir,
in the
if you're
mirror.
listening, we certainly aren't judging you for anything like that. I mean, first of all, losing your little brothers.
Yeah.
I can't imagine how hard that would be. Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is definitely bizarre. And the fact that whatever it was did manifest for her too, to some degree. So the
Yeah.
fact that it's your imagination, that part does seem a little weird.
Or projecting, your fear projecting itself in some sort of.
I've never seen my fear project in a mirror.
That would be creepy.
Interesting.
Starve your ghouls means that you are not afraid of them, not that they don't exist.
Right. Well, she's right, though. The idea of starving your ghouls, not feeding into that fear.
Yeah, that is the
Whether this
point.
was from herself projected or if it was a real thing, either way.
Oh, it was definitely real, just so you know.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't make it not real.
No.
If it's your fear projected manifested, it's almost like it could
No,
be
it
a
was
real
a
tulpa.
real like demonic thing.
Yeah.
I'm obviously joking.
Yeah. No, what I'm saying is that could be, even if it's from within yourself, it doesn't mean that it's not real. In the
Yes,
sense
it
that,
does.
Stop it, John.
That's exactly what it means.
No, it's not.
It means it's just your imagination.
That's different than you projecting something that could manifest as like a tulpa, which could interact with you and other people in the physical world.
Okay.
This is the belief hole, John. Anyway, come on.
I had never heard this before, but there is a folkloric belief out there that after death, before you're buried, a wandering spirit, let's say you didn't cross over to whatever wonderful plane you may go to, but if you're an earthbound spirit, and within that period of a few days before you're buried, you happen to come upon a mirror, you may be trapped.
Really?
Your soul may be trapped within the mirror. It's folklore, but I just thought that was interesting.
Where does that come from? What folklore?
That comes from like mirrorsforsale.com or something. That's the first place I read
No.
it.
Mirrorsforsale.com. I mean, like what culture believes that or has believed
the
it?
culture of Chris.
Okay.
No, we'll drop it in. There's
Robot lady, where did that come from?
Many Victorians believed that when someone died in a house, all the mirrors should be covered and the windows should be opened. It was believed that this prevented the spirit of the deceased from getting trapped inside the house and allowed it to leave peacefully. And in ancient Egypt, mirrors were believed to possess magical properties, capturing a part of the soul.
also scrying with mirrors. We've covered that in multiple episodes.
All right, let's move on to the next story.
Let's do it.
All right. I love this next story.
Yeah, this is a unique encounter.
Yeah. Let's get right to it because I've got some interesting follow-up with this. This is called Eight-Legged Mountain Freak. And this comes from Dillon Beyond. And this happened 50 years ago in the mountains of North Carolina.
Howdy. First, I'd like to say I love the show and that I'm a proud supporter of the expansion.
Yes!
Secondly, I'd like to note I'm a simple boy of West Virginia, not a scholar or a writer, so bear with me. I myself am 25 years of age and was told this story by my stepfather about his own dad, a World War II vet who is described to me as a straight-laced man who hardly joked, let alone make up stories about giant spiders. Anyways, my stepfather tells it like this. My father says we were driving deep in the mountains on some dirt roads. It was late at night, and he was the only one awake. Everyone else had long passed out and fallen asleep, leaving him to try and stay awake while he drove home. Dad admitted to being tired, but nowhere near falling asleep behind the wheel or anything like that. Being a vet of World War II, he was an alert fellow. Anyways, as he went down the road and suddenly came to a stop, he swears that before him, a giant spider crossed in front of his car just a short ways ahead and continued across the road and down the mountain through thick trees. My father says it was nearly the size of their small car. I've never known my father to lie or spin a yarn for sport, but there was no sign of a lie or joke in his eyes or on his face. It was a simple story, a short one, but was told with a serious tone. My father knew what he had seen, even if it was hard for anyone else to believe. I wish he was alive to tell you the story himself. Well, there you go. That is the story as told to me by my stepfather, as it was told to him by his own dad. I know many will not believe this story, and that's fine, but some part of me kind of hopes it's true. I can't explain it. Maybe it's the historian in me that loves stories passed down, rather it be the stories of World War II or giant spiders. It's how history and legend continues. I have many more stories of my own, and my wife's to share, but for now, I will leave you with this. I hope to hear it on your show. Keep up the good work. Awesome.
Yeah, thanks, Dillon.
Yeah, great story. And just like he said, simple, short story, straight to the point.
It was
It in its final form.
That's true. Finally comes full circle with the it comments.
Eat battery acid.
You slime.
You slime.
Yeah, what a bizarre out there.
Yeah, I'd never heard of a giant spider encounter before.
Yeah.
And I was like, is this a thing? So I tried to find out if this would, did we ever have giant spiders?
Oh, like in the history of the world.
Yeah, like in the fossil record, for instance.
God, it'd be so scary.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it would be awesome.
Yeah.
By
It would
every
be.
metric.
Yeah.
As long as you're in your car and a safe distance away.
Yeah. But how strong would they be? That big? Could they pry open your car door?
Yeah. I'd want them behind a glass cage.
I don't know. A glass?
Yeah, you want to see
It
it.
would be awesome to see a spider that big,
Dude,
though.
it'd be so cool. Well,
Talk about nightmares.
People would pay top dollar to see that.
oh, absolutely.
Arachnid Park,
Spared
I'm
no
telling
expense.
you. Arachnid Park.
Arachnid Park.
Ooh.
Well, in the fossil record, the largest one, unfortunately, is only about 2 feet, if that. That's the Megarachni
That we've found so far.
we've found so far. And actually, that's not even technically a spider. It's an Eurypterid, if I'm saying that right, which is an aquatic arthropod, not a spider.
Another reason to stay out of the water.
But couldn't you have spiders this large at some point?
One could hope.
So allegedly, they'll say, skeptics and quote scientists will say that there's simply not enough oxygen in the atmosphere for arachnids or any like extraskeletal what do they call those when it's
when you have basically when your skeleton is on the outside, like exoskeleton.
Yes.
Which are arthropods, things that have their skeletons or skeletal-like structures on the outside of their bodies, unlike us humans with our internal friendly skeletons.
So then how would that prevent them from
Growing?
breathing the way they normally do if they're bigger?
I'm glad you asked, Chris, because I'm not a spider guy per se, not a spider scientist, self-admitted, not. But from what I've read, it sounds like there's two different kinds of breathing systems that spiders have.
Book lungs, or they breathe through their skin, right?
Book lungs, or a kind of tracheal system, a respiratory system based on the surface area of their body, the exoskeleton, I think.
So if they got bigger.
The argument is they wouldn't have enough respiratory surface area to provide oxygen to its body tissue, because the body of a spider, as it gets larger, grows much faster in proportion to the surface area of the respiratory structure.
Oh, okay.
So it can't pass the oxygen through. So essentially you'd have giant spiders whose tissues would not be fed oxygen and would die over time. So you cannot support a giant spider.
A system of diminishing returns, it sounds like.
So the argument that in the Carboniferous, I think it is, or some earlier stage where we had much more oxygen in the atmosphere, you could have larger insects like the giant dragonflies. But now, where do they get the oxygen? And as they do get bigger, they still have to pass more oxygen through. So how would it work? And from that little bit of research, it seems like they simply could not exist in the way that arachnids do right now, with the oxygen that we have in the environment and the way that they're built. But that does not take into account microevolution, adaptation. How could these things grow? You have for instance, the island crab.
Coconut crab.
This gigantic arthropod, I think it grows to like 3 feet, which is another kind of arthropod, but it's developed in a different way to allow it to grow to a larger size. Or is it possible that a tarantula-looking spider could grow to a much larger size and has yet to be discovered? In the Congo, which we've only explored as humans, a fraction of the Congo, could there be something out there that has evolved in this way, that has adapted?
The answer is yes.
Well, thank you. In the belief hole, these things grow in all kinds of ways.
I want to believe.
People will point out, well, we've had dragonflies that have had up to 2-foot wingspans in the past, and now dragonflies are quite small, even though we had giant ones a long time ago. And the argument is the oxygen issue, but at the same time, cockroaches were always the same size they are now. Those weren't bigger when there were more oxygen, and they're small. So, these kind of questions.
Point?
Point is that insects could be of all sizes. Anyways, and the idea of not a great point, but the point basically is we don't know the possibilities that nature can bestow upon these creatures. And interestingly, there have been people who've witnessed almost exactly the same thing throughout this last century, at least.
Oh, do tell.
For instance, the Baka people, a pygmy tribe of the rainforests of the Congo Basin, they believed in the Jaba Fafi, which is essentially the giant tarantula-looking spider from all accounts with a leg span of up to 6 feet. These things did and maybe do exist, according to the Baka people. And not just them. You remember we did that episode about Mekele Mbembe?
Yes.
The dinosaur in the Congo? It's like our first expansion episode.
Yeah.
And your point being?
The point is, there is this man, and his name...
It's about Ivan T. Sanderson?
Bill Gibbons.
Oh, okay.
A cryptozoologist from the 80s and 90s, I believe, who's kind of a controversial figure. He was a creationist, so depending on where you land on that front, he could be seen as controversial. But while doing his work in the Congo, on Mekele Mbembe, the dinosaur of the Congo...
Right, like their little foot.
Yeah, he was sent a story that also happened in the Congo. It was the Belgian Congo at the time. It was a story sent by the daughter. Her name is Margurite, the daughter of 2 explorers of the then Belgian Congo, who came across something very familiar. And this is his telling of that account. I first became aware of a giant ground-dwelling spider through Miss Margurite Lloyd, formerly of Rhodesia, and now living in England. Her parents, Reginald and Margurite Lloyd, were exploring the interior of the old Belgian Congo in 1938 when they spotted something crossing the jungle track ahead of them. At first, they took the object to be a large jungle cat or a monkey on all fours. When they stopped their vehicle, an old Ford truck, to allow the animal to pass, they were thunderstruck to see that it was a very large brown spider, similar in appearance to a tarantula, with a leg span of at least 4 or 5 feet. Mr. Lloyd trembled so much with excitement that he was unable to retrieve his camera in time to take a snap, and Mrs. Lloyd was so distraught that she wanted to return home to Rhodesia.
immediately. This creature is known as the Jabba Fafi. Jabba meaning great or giant. Fafi meaning spider. So there you go. 1938, an account of the exact same thing.
Before we move on from this,
And, well, I was going to say a question of that being in the Congo, and this story we have today from, was it Dillon, taking place in North Carolina. Well, how would it, if it's the same thing, the same Jabba Fafi, could it have been transported here? And I would argue its pupae are these like little purple abdomened yellow spiders that are the eggs are the size of like peanuts, I believe. Who's to say they didn't get mixed together with some cocoa beans, put in an old gunny sack in the 1930s when they used to, well, they still ship cocoa over here now. And I think they say something like 10 to 30 different insects have their parts in your chocolate. Anyways, what if one of the eggs, and every chocolate bar has like 10 or 20 different animal or insect parts in it.
I'm a vanilla man anyway.
That was from an ABC study. Anyways, what if something hitched a ride?
Yeah.
And what if it grew in the forests of North Carolina?
Before we move on from this, yes, interesting stuff there, Jer. Before we move on from this, I wanted to play a quick video. It's only a minute long. Get your take on this, and I'll jump ahead to where we actually see the alleged giant spider recorded by campers.
Do you think this is real?
In that African country that starts with an M, which I'll say it again later because I remember what it's called. Mozambique.
Zimbabwe. You're a geographer,
Just add
sir.
an M to the Zimbabwe. That's funny.
Mozambique,
Okay.
I believe. So we'll have this linked in the show notes to get your guys' take. It is interesting.
If you're watching on YouTube, if you're not watching on YouTube, go sign up, subscribe on YouTube, follow us, and you can watch these things live. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah. Fans of Monsters has an interesting blog on this. We'll have that link too. But here's a quick clip of that. Tell me what you guys think. John, I want you to look up here in the back right corner. As with all of these videos, almost all of them, it is a grainy, hard to see thing, but you can kind of make out the motion of this spider.
Some nighttime footage?
Yes. The story is that some campers left the camera out to record overnight to see what they could capture as they were in Mozambique, not Zimbabwe.
Spider country.
Yes. Here we go.
Waiting. Oh, I see movement.
Ew.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now that I'm watching this again, I can see that. Ooh, that is definitely spider movement. Yeah,
What?
I'll back it up again.
Oh.
Now, whether or not this is fabricated, I'll have to look more into this video, but I mean, when it crawls away, like, oh, that's spider locomotion.
It's definitely tarantula looking. Ooh, with his little legs? Or giant legs. I guess he's just across like a riverbank or a pond.
I don't know. I feel like that could be like a cat or something too.
No way. If you're sitting where I am, John, close up to this,
You see the legs crisscrossing.
you can see each leg moving like spiders' legs do.
I mean, the legs do look a little weird, but there's no way to tell how many legs are there.
You can count the bottom of them as they walk. Well, there's at least 3 on each side.
Well, they're also on both sides, almost like a crab
I would say
walk.
it does. I mean, I see why that they could see that, but it's too grainy to really know for sure.
Yeah, I would say if it's for sure there and it's not fabricated, it's most likely a
It's
giant
kind of
spider.
look crab-like almost.
Yeah. Another thing with these cameras is you could have
Artifacts.
Well, when something moves like a person, you can see a trail, which could look like more legs as
That's
it
what
moves.
I mean. Like, it's just too grainy to know, but it does look creepy. Whatever it is, it's fairly large.
Even if it was like, I don't know what else that would be, where it would be structured like that, where they have legs kind of sticking out of both sides of like a low-lying body. It just looks arachnid to me.
It does, but there's too far away.
It's real, John.
There was a commenter on this video who said, I briefly participated in missionary work in the Congo in the late 1980s and can say with my hand on my heart that I and 6 other local witnessed a Jabba Fafi scurry across the road. Again, always across roads. A clearing into the bush just 5 feet away from us, about an hour outside of Gembama. It looked exactly like a long-legged tarantula, but was about the size of a medium-sized dog.
Same description.
Yeah, this one's a little smaller. Pit bull or something.
That's still ridiculous.
Yeah, it's still
though.
giant. Of course, everyone I've ever told says, yeah, sure, just a big spider monkey or sloth, but I know what I saw and feel lucky to have seen it. I remember my first thought was not fear, but just, I wish I had a film camera. Oh, like that old Explorer. The locals were shocked too. I hope they still exist out there.
Why do you think we haven't found them though? Like
Well, this is in the Congo. It's again like the same argument with Mekele Mbembe, that sort of brontial dinosaur.
I know, but if people are citing these things, it's not like, Bigfoot, I kind of understand if it's this advanced creature that can kind of hide well. But if it's a spider, I don't know.
Spiders are pretty good camouflage.
I mean,
according to
you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
though.
no, I know what you're saying.
I'm just being skeptical.
Like why we come
here.
across their carcassi, if you will.
Right.
Well, it depends, I guess, how remote this area is that people have seen this. It's like, it's like the Tasmanian.
That brings a question, the idea of the one we got from our listener, Dillon, from his stepdad's father, but
And there are accounts in the States.
Yeah.
I just came across one in Louisiana,
Really?
1948. So I guess around the time that Dillon's stepdad's father would have seen it.
Portals too, maybe.
Portals popping in
Well,
and
that's
out
always my go-to
Yeah,
guess.
I think that may be more likely.
from Dimension Arachnid.
Window areas. Yes.
But this one in 1948 was the Sladens. We actually have a name attached to these people. I guess they're going to church service at night, and then halfway down the road, they stop. And what came out of the bushes apparently was this gigantic, described as tub-sized, black hairy spider.
Ugh.
And then it just quickly disappears into the bushes across the road, again, across the road. The father, William, acted like he'd seen them before, and it wasn't uncommon.
Weird.
So maybe in certain places at a certain time, these things were known to exist. Maybe a small population, so there's not a lot of
Who knows? Or window area.
evidence,
Well, it's still nothing like the size of the car.
Yeah, tub-sized. I mean, a tub's pretty big.
Yeah, but car.
A small car, like
Depends
a
on
VW
how
Bug.
tall it was.
It's hard to gauge size and distance in a nighttime, too.
And especially if you see something that large, it's going to be a little,
Things always seem bigger, too. I think frightening things.
I mean, you
Yeah.
can fit in a tub. Well, I guess it was a wash tub, so maybe not a bathtub, but
a little smaller.
still pretty big.
I mean, you see a tub-sized spider, that might see the
Might
be
seem
like
like
it
a
was
car.
the bus.
Yeah.
Like, I mean,
exactly.
seeing something like that would be so shocking.
Yeah.
Either way, it's not something that should exist unless it's coming from a portal.
Well, that was our third story from North Carolina, strangely enough, on this episode.
Something about them Carolinas.
I know. We could have just done a North Carolina episode.
That's like we had that Texas one time. We realized that almost all the stories we
That
had
would be
picked
fun
came
to
from
do,
Texas.
like states.
Yeah.
It might be a good way to organize them in the future.
I have said multiple times since we have plenty of these, I'd love to do like an intercontinental episode, international episode, since we've got Danish stories, Norwegian stories, Irish stories, Scottish stories, Australian stories. Our next story actually is from England. So why don't we do that now? Jump on over the pond to London. This was a interesting story. Actually, I think we've got two stories from the UK tonight, but let's start with this one. This one comes to us from Cinzia. This story occurred December of 1998, and it's called I Know You Can See Them. Hi guys, I'm from London in the UK and have a strange experience that happened to me in 1998. I was working in a cold weather shelter. This was a shelter for the homeless people for the winter months. The building we were using was part of an old hospital. We were using the old nurses' quarters. I was on the night shift with 3 of my colleagues. On the night shift, we would open the kitchen at midnight for anyone that was hungry. The kitchen and dining room was in a prefab attached to a long corridor. Staff could only access it, and we had to keep it locked so no one could enter. It was my turn to set up. I was in there for 5 minutes, and suddenly, I felt really uneasy. I continued to set up, but then I started seeing shadows moving across the dining room door. This happened 3 or 4 times. I got really scared and radioed to one of my colleagues to come in and help me set up.
Hey, Georgina, do you mind coming to help me finish setting up in here?
My colleague, Georgina, joined me, and we continued to set up quietly. We decided to sit down and have a tea before opening the dining room. I did not say anything to her about what I saw or how I felt. We were having a nice chat when she suddenly said,
I know you can see them.
I asked her what she was talking about, but I felt really panicky. She said again,
I know you can see them, but they won't harm you if you just leave them alone.
I got up, scared, and told her I did not want to talk anymore. She did not say anything else to me that night. I found out years later from Georgina's ex-girlfriend that she could see spirits, and lots of strange things used to happen to her. I was so spooked that night, and even after all these years, it makes me feel really uneasy. I love your show, by the way, and makes my journey to work less painful. Cinzia.
Okay, that'd be terrifying.
That
Yeah.
corroboration, or that the corroboration from someone who, I know you can see them.
Yeah.
Like she knows. Like, so that's obviously something happening
and
there.
then just, what'd she say? They won't harm you if you leave them alone. So, I mean,
I'll be going.
there's a chance that they would harm me? These invisible
Yeah,
personalities?
that part is like, how are they going to harm you?
Yeah.
And what do you mean by leave them alone?
Well, it's like you hear, just
ignore them. Like people live in haunted houses.
Starve your ghouls.
As long as I
Like
just
you don't taunt or tease them, sort of thing.
and you don't
Like, hey, stupid ghost.
right.
Get out of here, stupid
Come
ghost.
at me, bro. Come at me, ghost. Yeah, if you don't engage.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
But she couldn't see him, right?
No, she was seeing shadows on the door.
Okay.
This is her first night there, and that's when she radioed her colleague, who happened to be a little sensitive, who was like, "Oh, I know you can see him." I would be out of there probably at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, thank you for that short and sweet tale of corroborative encounters.
Yeah. Thank you, Cinzia. Very creepy.
Very cool.
All right, our final tale also comes from the UK, the southeast of England, and this one I call Demon Portal.
This comes from Fran.
Hi guys, Fran here. Love your podcast. This is an experience that happened to me in my previous home. So the house itself, we lived there for 12 years. It's this listed Georgian property in the southeast of England. And all we know really about it was that it was built in the 1760s. So this house is quite spooky by nature, quite bleak in the winter. But classic historical building. So this story happened when I was 18, so that was 2019. And I just arrived home for Christmas after completing my first term at university. And at the time, I just started seeing someone. And I had decided to go around the house and give them a house tour over Snapchat. And so Snapchat in 2019, I don't think yet had the feature where you could save things. And so messages would disappear and videos would disappear after being viewed. So I've just finished the top 2 floors and I'm down to the ground floor, and I've come round to the front of the house. And just for context, this part of the building, there's the kitchen, and then there's a reception room, utility rooms, hallway, that sort of thing. And in this part of the house, there's a door that has steep stairs leading down to a 3-room basement. And this basement, as you can imagine, in a house that was built in the 1760s, is very, very dungeony. So you got the classic sort of dungeon-esque sort of stone floors, ceilings and walls. And we used to go down there as kids for fun. And I used to take my friends down there and they'd get freaked out. Pretty scary place. You'd have beetles and newts running around. But I wasn't scared of this basement because you're sort of desensitized to it. And also, my brother locked me down there as a child once when I was, I think, 8 or 9 with the lights off for an amount of time. So I wasn't scared of this basement. But I was doing this house tour and I was down in the basement and I just finished sending a video, and at the end of this last video that I had taken, I made a joke. Essentially, I said, "And this is where the demon portal is." And as soon as I'd said that and pressed send, I just hear this laugh. It's this male voice laughing at me. And my body reacted before my brain did, and all the hair on the back of my neck and my arms stood on end. My heart dropped into my stomach, and I knew immediately that this was a stranger's laugh. This was not my dad, this was not my brother, the only 2 male family members who would have been in the house at the time. And all I could do was sort of turn around and slowly walk back up the stairs, turn the light off and shut the door. And then go into the kitchen and ask my dad, "Did you just laugh?" And of course I knew the answer would be no. And he said no. And I told him what happened. But it completely freaked me out. And I never went into that basement again. And I live in a separate property now. And after growing up in that house for 12 years, I can say that I will definitely say that I felt watched 24/7. You always felt like someone was watching you. And I don't feel that in this house that I'm in now. And when we moved into that house, I was 8 or 9, and I refused to sleep in my own bedroom for 2 weeks. I had to sleep with someone else because I would have these fits of crying and panic before bed. It just completely freaked out. So yeah, there's a bit of history there and a bit of context. But this was the one thing that I could not rationalize, because there was no way there was someone down there. There was no way in a house that size I would have even able to hear a laugh down there. And we were very rural in the middle of a forest, essentially, and no neighbours. So there you go. That's my story. Thank you for listening. And if you guys play this, then thank you for telling my story. Okay, bye.
Jeez. Thanks, Fran. Holy crap.
That would be terrifying.
Dude. She was like, and I slowly turned around and walked up the stairs.
For some of these stories, it's just like, how do you ever sleep? I hope nothing like that ever happens to me.
Minus your mirror.
Well, I haven't had someone like laugh at me in my basement.
Yeah, but you've had the Whistler. But I guess that could have been something
still
else.
not quite as freaky
as a vocal human laugh.
That was pretty creepy, though. That was a very creepy part of my life.
Uh-huh.
Just those couple days. Like, it was pretty fearful.
When the Whistler came?
Yeah. Yeah.
Specifically, the part that I found really interesting was, of course, she makes the joke.
Right.
This is the demon portal, and that's when it's almost like something was there, had already been there, and was like, that's kind of funny.
What if the entity just thought it was a good joke?
Like,
I get demon
it's like it kind of is, you know?
Yeah. Creepy.
Yeah. Well, if you heard his sinister laugh, it was definitely, he wasn't having.
That's true.
It was a very sinister laugh.
That's true.
Because that was real.
But he did seem to enjoy it.
Real audio captured on site.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Fran. That was seriously a terrific story.
Thank you.
I'm glad you've moved away from there. Anyway,
we're done.
We're done with these stories for today. We hope you guys like them as much as we did. I think we had some fantastic submissions today.
Yeah, we had some really good ones. Definitely some stuff to chew on, too. I don't know. There was just some cerebral stuff, even though that they were paranormal things. Some interesting situational.
Why couldn't paranormal things be cerebral, John?
Well, not every situation is like.
If it's just like a typical
they're really
ghost
unique.
story.
It's easier to come up with ideas about things that we haven't recapped a million times.
Yeah, that's again, like I said at the beginning of this episode, I love when there's newer phenomena we can discuss. You know, there's a lot, like the fire one, for example, the sentient fire,
spider,
giant spider,
the mirror,
all of them
were
the
great.
silent blackbird landing.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, really interesting stuff. And for all of you who love the other sorts of episodes we do, the deep divers, stick around because we've got some incredible ones planned for this season.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yes.
So, for those of you who are ready to hop on our backs and jump to the expansion.
Yes, exactly. If you're not a member of the expansion, get over there.
Yeah.
Stop wasting time. You're wasting time. Join the party.
The world could end tomorrow.
You're leaving joy on the table.
Don't be a joy leaver.
Joy leaver. Starve your ghouls and collect your joy.
Anyway, we hope that you guys are glad to be back with us in the hole. We're glad to have you back. So thank you for joining us again, season 6.
Get ready for a kick-ass season.
Yes! And new features will be announced as the season continues that we've been working on. So we're super excited about that. Merch, Discord, listener stories archive with interactive stories that can play to the point of the episode. In the episode with the stories, lots of stuff coming out. And
one more thing. We are going to be doing some stingers again.
Yes.
Here's the thought with that. So we do have a couple already planned for a few people, but I think after those are done, what we're thinking about doing potentially is we don't have a ton of Skywheel riders, but we maybe do like a raffle every show to do a stinger for them.
Right. So something extra if you sign up with your extra generous support as a Skywheel rider, which all you Skywheel riders, thank you so much for doing that for no other purpose than to help us out. Now what we want to do is, offer up a raffle where we can pull one out of the bag and reward someone.
Yeah, there are quite a bit of work, so we would have to reserve it, for the Skywheel riders. But if you're interested, I know people used to really like them, and I kind of miss doing them.
Yeah.
I miss making music. And so, that's going to be part of this season 2.
Awesome. Yes, thank you, all of you supporters. And now with that, guys, I think we have some very special people to thank.
Yes.
Hi, guys.
Thank you, too. Sam Winters.
Yes.
Ooh.
Light up that fire.
Cold name, warm heart. Welcome in, Sam. Trey Gurkey is here. Trey Gurkey, love or Gurkay.
Or Gurk.
Or Gurk.
Gurky Jerky, welcome in.
Yes, welcome to have you, Trey.
Welcome, Trey.
Welcome to be here. Yeti Betty has arrived.
That's great.
In the hole.
Yeti Betty.
Yeah.
Welcome in, my lady.
What a sweet, warm Bigfort lady.
Bigfort.
What? All right, Dogman Whisperer coming in. Matthew Rocha.
I would say Roca.
Or Roca.
Matthew.
Probably Roca. Welcome in, Matches.
Welcome to be here.
You dogman whisperer, you. Shelley Fowler.
Hello.
Hey, we know a Shelley Fowler. I was in choir with her. She called me Sexy Parfait.
Wow!
Is that really the same one?
I don't know. Probably not.
Probably not.
It's probably not the same Shelley. But
Not in her
we're
eyes.
glad to have you, Shelley. Thank you to be here, my friend.
Yes.
Janelle, hey, man.
Hey, man.
Hey, man. Hey, Janelle.
Janelle. What's up, sister?
Janelle Heyman.
Excellent.
Janelle, you smell real good. Welcome into the hole. Janelle, you smell good. Next one,
Jacqueline.
Yes.
Jacqueline, hi.
Jacqueline.
Welcome in, Jacqueline. Like a jack-o'-lantern.
Jump in, Jacqueline.
Yes. We're happy to have you, Jacqueline.
Welcome to be here.
Speaking of jack-o'-lanterns, I don't know if you guys heard of Halloween Head Comics.
Ooh.
An awesome freaking comic.
Yes.
We'll have a look at the show notes. But Justin Soto,
Yes,
just freaking Dogman Whisperer and good friend of the show.
Welcome in, sir.
Say hi to your brother for us. You guys rock. JT is here. Hi, JT.
All right.
JTing it up. Justin Timberlake.
One more T would have been Justin Taylor Thomas.
I didn't know Justin Timberlake was a listener.
It must be him.
So dumb.
No, it's really funny.
Megan Larson. Hey,
Right, Megan Larson.
how's you going, girl? How's you? How are you?
Welcome in. Your last name is almost a felony.
That's right. It's larceny.
Someone just YouTube commented about how horrible like our jokes were at some point or something. Like there's nothing worse than interrupting a story. Like a terrible
It's a terrible,
joke.
terrible joke.
Too bad, too
I
sad.
was like, sorry, we're not perfect.
You hurt my feelings. Well, that's the beliefful for you.
Yes. Welcome in, Larson.
Guys, try to unravel this mystery. We've got a new member, and his name is Ed Riddle.
Ooh, riddle me this, Eddie.
And he's a frickin' holy crap, is he a shadow person of interest? I think he is. What? What a generous guy.
Magic Man.
Ed, you rock, dude.
You're the best.
We're happy to have you. By the way, did I say Gentry Bowman has arrived?
No.
Gentry?
I've heard this one many times.
Oh, have we
yeah.
done this name? Okay. Many times.
Yeah.
Or it was a gentry of some sort.
I
don't
remember
if it
that
was Bowman.
name. We could say it again. Gentry Broman, you're in.
He
made it.
Oh, you're right. Who did it? He was in, yes, he's been here. Welcome back, Gentry. He's still here.
It's a good name.
Gentry Bowman.
We're happy to have you, my friend. Thank you. Christy Garcia is a frickin' Dogman Whisperer. Of course she is. Of course she is.
Welcome, Christy.
Sweet love.
Gracias, Christy Garcia.
Sweet, sweet love.
Sweet, sweet lover of the whole. Christopher Stiles has style.
Ooh, styling it up.
Yeah.
I need a haircut, by the way.
Excellent.
Thank you. It's neither hair nor
Style.
there.
Oh my God.
Terrible jokes. I'm sorry.
Wonderful.
Victoria Samova.
Samova.
What a beautiful name.
Samova driving that Nova.
Sounds like a landslide of snow. Victoria Samova. Welcome. Welcome to have you. Really smooth.
No, I looked at each other in confusion.
No, a Samova. It's like smooth and white like snow. Samova.
Okay.
Victoria. Okay. That's just what appeared in
Let's
my
move
mind.
on. Thank you.
Bailey Russell. Hey.
All
welcome.
right. Welcome
Excellent.
in, Russell.
Bailey Russell.
Yep.
I don't
The
know.
standard John response.
There's not much to say about
Kurt
that
Russell.
name.
You could just switch up the melody. We could do
Bailey Russell.
That's great. Totally upgraded.
We love you.
Mark Thomas. Hey.
2 names. We gotta say it every time.
Got 2 names like Mark. Wait, isn't that? Oh, Rob Thomas.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Could be his
3
brother.
a.m. I must
Could be his brother.
lonelier.
Probably.
Probably is.
Welcome in,
He's got
Sunshine.
20 matchbooks. Dumb. I'm dumb. Kyle Sykes. Psych. It's Sykes, not
We're
Sykes.
psyched to have you here.
Psyched up.
Man, that's one of those words that I needs to come back. Psych. Right?
Psych.
What if his
Like
name...
butt
munch?
Butt munch. Or what's the
Fart
one?
knocker.
These are all Beavis and Butthead
I know,
references.
I know.
But not butt lord.
No, Jerry.
Grody to the max.
Grody.
Yeah.
I can't remember the butt
Quit
one.
saying butt. It's weirding me out.
I know.
Sorry.
Move along.
I'm going to think of it later, and then we're going to bring it back. Okay. Junior Torres. Hey,
Yes.
Dogman Whisperer, you. Welcome in, Junior. Maybe Junior, but you're a senior friend of ours.
I don't see him on there.
It's got the little dog head next to him there.
Oh, okay. Hi, Junior.
The Littlest High. Hi, Junior. He wrote a children's book called The Littlest High. Hi, Junior.
Hi, Junior. Hi, Grandma.
Get your cereal ready because he is full of fiber, my friends. Jared Wheatley has arrived.
Wheatley.
Welcome in, Jared. Welcome to be here, you Dogman Whisperer.
I just don't know if I can do this anymore.
Just gotta think of. We should probably look at these ahead of time to have interesting thoughts.
It takes the fun out of it.
Is this? Are you having fun?
I am.
Oh, good.
This is my favorite part of the show.
Good.
I just feel like I can't do any sort of association anymore.
You're supposed to get better as you.
Do it more often?
Yeah, but
it doesn't work
Well,
that
we've
way.
been on break. You know?
I don't think that's an excuse.
Amber Jean Hufflepuff.
Amber
we
Jean
go.
Hufflepuff is here. I got a wizardly welcome for you.
Yes, from one
wizard to another.
From one wizard to another. I may be a Gryffindor, but
Oh gosh.
Someone made me take one of those tests, and I am a Gryffindor.
Someone made you.
Well, someone asked me.
Welcome to be here, Amber. We did skip Jason Jaeger.
Jason Jaeger.
Jaeger me up.
Or Jaeger.
Or is that Jaeger? Is that you spell Jaeger?
Jaeger.
Jaeger. Anyways, Jason,
Welcome in.
we're happy to have you. Welcome, sir.
Here's to you.
Julia on Broadway.
There
Car
you go.
safe.
Yes!
Car safe. Or car sale. Car sales.
JG Wentworth.
877 cash now.
All right.
Sorry about that, Julia Broadway.
Thank you, Julia. You are a star in our heart.
And you are a Dogman Whisperer. So freaking, how do you
Whisper me up. You don't need to do that. I'll put the sound effect
I
in
like
there.
doing it.
Well, it ruins it.
No, it doesn't help
It does, because there's not enough space. There's not enough space when you do a roo.
What do you mean, sonic space? Like frequency?
It,
What are you
well,
talking about?
and time, like, because the...
Well, you do it underneath it.
it doesn't sound as good.
So you can never say something with a sound effect, or
No, you can, but just not the dog.
Okay, I disagree.
This is crap.
Cecil.
You can keep doing
Cecil
it.
Lane. Welcome in.
Cecil Lane.
Is it Cecil? I don't think I've ever seen the name Cecil spelled.
Could be Cecil.
How many Cecils slid up the slide? How many Cecils slid up the
Cecil?
slide?
Cecil?
I think it's probably Cecil.
What do you mean? Why is it not Cecil?
I've never seen Cecil spelled.
Cecily.
C-E.
It's a female.
C-I-L.
I get that.
So anyways,
It could be either.
whoever you are,
Thank you for coming down Bleefhole Street, Cecil Lane.
Cecil Lane, we love you.
Hi, guys.
Dalton Monte Cloninger. Cloninger?
Dalton Montcloninger.
Nathalina Schloniger.
Nice.
Dalton
I like it.
Montcloninger.
That is a good name.
Dalton Montcloninger. Ooh, that's a special name.
Cloninger.
Special name for a special man.
Welcome to have you. By the way, Cecil Lane was a Dogman Whisperer. I should have said so. Give it a howl, John. I won't do one myself. Stop it, Chris.
Ruining it.
Can't have it. Harley Tool
Excellent.
is a useful supporter of the show. Harley, thank you for being a Dogman Whisperer.
Useful supporter of the show.
Harley Tool. It's Tool. Harley.
I like it. Good band, too.
Thank you, Harley. You are awesome.
I get it.
And awesomeness is increasing as we have a shadow person
Nice.
in the hole. Ashley Cole is freaking in the hole.
She's hot as a coal in the hole. Ashley Cole.
Thank you, Ashley. You freaking rock. That's super generous and supportive.
Jordan Kearney. Jordan Kearney. Jordan Kearney. Jordan Kearney.
Those dying goats.
The number one Jordan in America.
Yes.
Jordan Kearney. What a
America's
dude.
number one, Jordan.
American's number one Jordan Kearney.
Is it? I'm so
Sounds
sorry.
Irish, doesn't it? Kearney?
So sorry that I don't know to refer to you, because I don't know if is there a difference in spelling whether it's a lady Jordan or a man Jordan?
I don't think so. Just the Michael Jordan.
Okay, well, we don't know. We just know you're awesome. Thank you. Thank you for being here. And
Angie Vagina.
nope. Angie V.
Welcome, Angie 5.
We'll bleep that out. No one will have any idea what you said
Yes.
there, but
That V just stands alone.
it does.
Is anybody...
For like value.
Like a
She is value. Shut up. You can't say that stuff.
Angie 5.
Angie 5. Angie V.
Angie 5.
Get it? Roman numeral.
Angie 5 is alive.
There it is. Native Nightmares is a Dogman Whisperer.
Ooh, Native Nightmares.
Native Nightmares.
Is a dog? Oh, I recognize that name.
He made it into our daymare. Master of the Nightmare.
Anyway.
Thank you for being here, Native
Yeah, thank you for being a
Nightmares.
Dogman Whisperer.
That's rock and roll.
Maybe that's like a show or
Might
something.
be a podcast. Yeah.
Yeah.
If it is, you know what? If it is, we'll stick it in the show notes. So
Yep.
go check it out.
Sam Sprankle.
Sprinkle.
Sprinkle it on me.
Sprinkle? Sprinkle me some Sam.
Sprinkle me, Sam.
Sure.
You're a sprinkle if you do.
Welcome to be here,
Yes,
Sam.
and his dog bowl is full of sprinkles because he is a Dogman Whisperer.
Nice.
So heck yeah, Sam. High fives to you. Adam Tafoya.
Tafoya me this, tafoya me that.
Well, hello, sir.
Well, hello.
You look like a real climber guy. I'll just say that.
You sound like a real climber fella, don't you?
Black-eyed cool kid you. What a
Yes.
hero.
Wink,
Yes,
wink,
yes.
Adam.
What?
Because you said you seem like a real climber guy.
Oh.
Wink, wink, Adam.
Do you not understand what is happening?
We can't say
Well,
that.
so no one's going to know what that's meaning.
I know. That's why I said wink,
okay,
wink.
okay.
Adam will understand.
Okay.
Well, I was looking at the email.
Yeah, it was the email.
Oh, I thought maybe he was climbing a mountain in the picture.
No, he was not.
He's wearing a sombrero, though. Okay, that'll
Well,
be...
try to guess his email.
It's still private.
Yeah, still private.
Peter Mater. Mater do what? I don't know. Join the Belief Hole?
Peter,
Perchance.
pumpkin meter.
Peter Mater. Peter Mater.
Peter Mater, sign up for the Belief Hole. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for being our last dogman of the evening.
It was kind of bad for last one.
Peter, you were awesome. Well, he's great.
No, but our jokes weren't so good.
No,
They're still going to be funny.
but it'll be a great time for us.
Anyways,
Anyway.
welcome. Thank you all so much.
Yes.
It's been wonderful having you here in the hole, and we are
Seriously.
excited to be with you over the next season of 6.
Absolutely. 100%.
Get your checkbooks out.
You don't get that unless you pay the money.
Because there are things you can buy.
We're going to have some cool merch coming
Yes.
at a reasonable price.
Shout out to Brad and Sam for their awesomeness and help with that.
Yes.
Super excited to finally get that going. And to Derek for who is going to be helping.
I would expect it in maybe 3 or 4 years.
Well, as long as we can make those deadlines that they've set up.
That's true.
It's going to happen.
Discord's coming too. We just got to finish figuring out exactly how we're going to implement it, but it's pretty close. It's all set up. We just have to figure out the final steps.
Yeah.
Cool.
So we're looking forward to that because I am actually looking forward to that to interact with people. I think that'll be fun.
Oh, definitely, man.
Yeah, can't you jump in randomly, like in video even?
They have video chats and
Which would be fun, especially for, to thank everyone who's
we could
been
just
supporting
jump
the
into
show.
video chat and communicate with people.
We should video bomb. Like people won't even be
Well,
expecting
my
it.
plan is to put it on at night when I'm going to bed and just having people, they can watch me sleep if they want.
That'd
You
be
know?
awesome.
That'd be great.
People would love that, Chris.
I figured.
People want to watch you sleep.
I like watching me sleep.
There's going to be one really creepy guy that's going to be tuned in all the time.
It'd be funny, like in the middle of the night, it's just like,
Actually,
like
Jeremy
running like a dog in his dreams.
Jeremy thought about getting another security camera and having like a fish tank or something. And then
I think we should do this.
if you're like a shadow person of interest or whatever, after we leave the studio at night, you just see the interior of the hole and get to watch for ghosts.
Yeah, because we do have orbs showing up on those cameras.
so have you told people that you thought there was a Frogger living here?
Oh, I did not.
Oh,
This
dude.
happened after we recorded.
So would you find some cigarette ash?
A cigarette ash on the railing.
like a cherry,
inside.
cherry of a cigarette.
Really?
Yeah. Did you clean it up or is it still there?
It's still there.
And at first I was like, is that part of the plant soil that maybe came out? And then I went down and I smelled it and I was like, that's cigarette.
I wonder if
cherry.
it could have come through the ceiling maybe?
Yeah, but if it fell that far, I feel like it would have broke apart. It was a solid, like it had just fallen off like a cherry.
You've smelled smoke?
Yeah,
That would be a strong
I used to smoke
smell.
cigarettes.
No, but that would be,
Oh no, I've
I've
smelled cigarette smoke in here before.
I know, but you would, if someone was smoking in here, that would be like an overwhelming
well,
smoke.
if it had been 3 hours before, and it, you know what I mean, like
Still, no.
I mean, it's
if you smoke a cigarette in
it
here,
was strong like that. It was like
Really, it was that strong.
It smelled like someone had smoked in the thing. I just assumed it was from up there, and it just
But
came
you
through
know,
the
like
floor.
if you smoke a cigarette in a house, like that is going to be like someone definitely was
Yeah,
smoking,
yeah.
not like a lingering
No,
kind
no,
of
no.
thing.
This is like someone smoked here. I thought someone was smoking out the window. So I went over and looked and no one was there.
I don't know. I just feel like, well,
I mean, my thought was a ghost. Ghosts of a,
What, ectoplasmic ash.
Yeah.
well we
some sort
haven't
of
caught
investing.
anything yet. We got cameras.
We
up.
got
That's
cameras
the whole
up.
point.
Anyways, and the point is, guys, I think it would be cool to do like, because it's creepy to watch those cameras at night, and we have orbs going through. I don't know what, maybe
It's
dust.
called dust.
Yeah, probably.
Everyone has dust.
But yeah, but it's weird that you don't see it. Like we can't see the
If
dust
they
in real
start to
life.
if they start to move like the one that was sent in by our friend at the dance studio,
Yeah.
then I'll be weirded out. Where there's like where it changes direction quickly and it's got a long trail.
I think it'd just be cool to have like a live channel people can just watch for ghosts in our studio, like members or something at night.
Or they could hear a live recording of the episode and just hear it in a really bad audio with all the mistakes.
well, like we're actually doing an
Yeah,
episode.
'cause
that
it
would
picks
be
up audio.
less fun for us because then we couldn't mess up at all and say the
terrible, terrible things
raunchier
that we cut
that
out.
yeah, we're not nice people.
We're evil people.
No, I'm just kidding. We're nice, but we definitely leave some of the stuff that we say on the cutting room table because
Cutting floor.
we want to protect your ears
Yeah.
and your children's ears.
Chill,
more
yeah,
than
we got
anything.
kids listening in, so some of this
Yeah,
stuff.
so I hope this
That's pretty
expansion.
much the main reason.
I hope you heard our warning at the beginning of this expansion when it was going to be a little adult.
yeah, when we set up the expansion, we did discuss.
But if you haven't listened to the expansion yet, be warned.
It's fun.
It's fun, but it's also definitely
A little
and
dirty.
Don't probably not let your kids, depending on how old they are.
Yeah, I would
It's not crazy.
preview
but
it first.
There's a little bit of raunchiness in there. It's like a PG-13 episode.
Yeah. It's not. We don't get super graphic.
No.
No.
We don't ever do that.
We do say things like sex and stuff like that.
Yeah, there are words
Do you
like
use the
we do
S
use the
word?
S word
We use the S word.
to talk about a human activity. Although this time it's ethereal human, spiritual, a ghost lover. Anyways,
Yeah, so check it out.
Turns out they're all demons.
yeah. Well, we'll see. You have to join and find out.
All right, we're going to go.
All right, guys.
It's been real
Cool.
long.
All right, guys, we love you. We'll see you in the expansion.
All right.
Have a beliefful day.
Yes, we'll catch you next time
On
Beliefful. Sad. That was sad.
That was very sad.
You gotta wait. That's because you gotta.
I don't know. I've never really liked doing this.
Well, it's too bad because you keep going back and forth on it. We're gonna do it. It's the thing you're gonna do.
I don't like cheers.
like cheersing.
I don't like
You know
cheersing.
what? We'll just copy it from the last episode, paste it.
Oh, that's stupid.
Well, then let's do it. All right. We'll see you next time
on Belief Hole.
Season 6.
Season 6?